everyone, and welcome back to the CSUF Department of Kinesiology Road to DPT video series, where we are answering many of your common questions in the journey to becoming a DPT. This video will be part 3 of our prerequisite series, in which we will talk about the other requirements that are involved in the DPT application. Let's get started. So as we've mentioned in some other videos, other prerequisites in addition to your academic coursework may be required for entry or for application into DPT programs. All programs require more than just extra classes for admission to their program, and requirements for this usually include a bachelor's degree, again, which is why you are here at Cal State Fullerton, the GRE, Graduate Record Exam, which we mentioned in a past video, letters of recommendation, usually 2 to 3, observation and clinical hours where you are shadowing and getting experience in the field, and for international students, you may need to take an English fluency exam, but that is only for non-citizens or for international students. All right, so the first requirement that we're going to talk about is the GRE, the Graduate Record Exam, which, as I mentioned, is kind of like the SAT for grad school. What the GRE is a standardized test specifically for graduate school aptitude, which is widely known across the board for graduate school entry of any kind, not just DPT. The GRE consists of 3 sections. It is taken on a computer at a designated testing center, and you get a raw composite score and scored by percentile, which basically means that they will give you a raw score for each section, a composite score across all 3 sections, and you are broken down into your percentile for each of the 3. These 3 sections include a verbal analysis section, which is essentially your language, your reading, your vocabulary, etc. You have a quantitative analysis section, which is basically math, and you have an analytical section, which is writing. There are free test prep materials that are found online at www.ets.org in the link that I posted here. ETS is the governing body that administers the GRE, so all of the materials found online for that is designated by the ETS for the best preparation that you can. They also have official GRE prep courses, which do cost money, but also many additional tertiary companies, third-party companies, do have their own test prep books, such as Kaplan, Barron's, etc. A lot of the same books and companies that you may have used to study for maybe the ACT or the SAT prior to coming to Cal State Fullerton. The thing about the GRE is that it does have a cost to it. It is roughly $200. You can get a fee waiver through the ETS website, which means that they may pay for partial test cost or they may waive the entire fee. But generally speaking, there is a cost associated with this, which you should prepare for. The second requirement that we'll talk about are letters of recommendation, which are required by pretty much every program. Most schools require 2 to 3 letters of recommendation from professionals who know you well. Letters must be sent via the PTCAS, not personally. So it's best to make relationships early with your professors, your supervisors, your licensed therapists that you are shadowing under, etc., so that they can get to know you well over a period of time for the best possible letters. You'll see on the right-hand side, I have a screenshot of that APTA/PTCAS website in which it shows you all of the different people from whom letters may be acquired. So you'll see that a professor and 1 physical therapist are a requirement. So 2 of your 3 must be from a professor and a physical therapist. But any of these may also be accepted: a second physical therapist, a second professor in your major, an academic advisor, an employer, etc. But you'll notice that some of these are not allowed, which it specifically tells you. Coworkers, family members, friends, clergy members, etc. are not people from whom you can request a letter because they are not a health professional or they're not a professional in the field. So again, please make sure that you are either looking at the website or the school website or the PTCAS website to figure out who will be the best options for this. Now, a common mistake that people make is that they get to the end of their degree and they realize that they don't have any professors with whom they have specifically bonded. So they go back to a professor that they took their sophomore or junior year. They took 1 semester, maybe got a B in their class, and they ask them for a letter of rec. This is okay, but keep in mind that professors have so many students in so many classes every year that unless you really make an indelible mark in their brain, they may not remember you, which is kind of a harsh reality to understand. But you need to make an impression and you need to form relationships with these professors and these people so that way their letter for you can be personalized, it can be deep, they can understand who you are, and it's not just a form letter or a templated letter of general, this person showed up in my class and they did an okay job and I don't know anything else about them. We want to make sure that we are getting good quality letters of recommendation, which starts with making those relationships really early. The last point is that generally you waive your right to see these letters in good faith. You don't have to, but generally speaking, it is kind of a red flag if you don't waive your right to see your letters, because the schools want to know that you trust implicitly the people whom you are asking for letters. You trust that they are going to write you something good. You don't need to worry about what they're going to write. So therefore you say, I don't need to see what they're writing because I trust it's going to be good. With that being said, again, that means it's very, very important that you ask for letters from people that know you very well and can really, really vouch for you and make your case, in addition to the application that you are putting forth. The last requirement that we will talk about is observation hours, which are arguably one of the most important factors of the process, both for you and your experience as well as your application. Observation gives you the chance to get depth and breadth of experience in clinical settings. This is your time to date the field and see what you like. Again, going back to the introduction video that we had for this series, we talk about how we encourage students to quote unquote date the field, play around in different realms, in different fields, in different specialties, and really understand that this is the career that you want prior to investing so much time and money and effort into this if it is not necessarily what you were looking for. This is the chance that you have to maybe see what different specialties look like, different fields look like, and see where do you fit and where do you thrive. Required hours, again, may vary heavily by program and may include specifics. So this gives you a chance to get experience in different settings. So for instance, some programs may say that you need a certain amount of inpatient hours, meaning this might be a nursing facility, a assisted living facility, a hospital and care setting, etc., versus a certain amount of hours outpatient, which are the quote unquote normal orthopedic ambulatory clinics that we have come to know and love, where we all usually do the majority of our hours. So make sure that you check your program, check and make sure that you understand and are hitting all of the requirements for that individual program. The general rule of thumb is the more hours, the better. So start this early, start it often, do it as much as you possibly can. Again, if you find a therapist that you know and you love and you find a great place for yourself, be a sponge, soak it up, make relationships with the therapist and the patients, and really get as much as you can out of that experience. Again, a great place to start for that might be Kines 495, where you do an internship and you have 120 hours in a certain setting. And then if you want to change, maybe you do an additional amount of hours at a different facility. And you see what it's like at a different place for another couple of months, and you start to make these foundational relationships with therapists, with clients, who might be able to write letters of recommendation for you. They may help you network within the field, and you can build up your network of people for going toward the future in your career as a physical therapist. Lastly, some extra tips and tricks when you're navigating some of these requirements is that many schools will offer tours, information sessions, and other ways to get to know the programs. Take advantage of these. A lot of times we think about how do we need to fortify our application so that we look the best to the school, but don't forget the school is trying to sell themselves to you as well. So take advantages of opportunities if you can, if you have the means or the ability to do either virtual tours or go in person for a tour, attend information sessions, whether that be in person or online. Like I said, email the admissions advisors to see maybe what classes you might be able to have, and feel free to ask them questions about the program, about the application process, about anything that you might need to know, because again, they are very, very helpful and they want to make the process better for you. All in all, if you do some of these tips and tricks, you may be able to get to know better what schools you want to have, what programs you want to apply to, what will be the best fit for you going forward. And at the very least, it helps them know your name so that when you start to apply, they recognize your name popping up on the screen because you've shown your dedication to their program and your interest, and they will take you much more seriously. I hope some of these tips and tricks have been helpful. And this concludes our 5th video on the Road to DPT series. Stay tuned for video 6, which is going to be the application process and putting all of it together.